Hi. Let's learn about licensees. A licensee is any business, organization, or individual that has been granted legal permission or certain rights by another entity who owns certain assets to engage in any activity related to these assets. The permission, or license, can be given on an express or implied basis. Licensees will compensate the owner of the license via an upfront payment, ongoing fees, royalties, or some other revenue-sharing arrangement. A licensee has received legal permission from another party to conduct some sort of business over which the other party holds some control, ownership, or authority. Many variations on the licensing relationship exist in the business world, including musical performances, recordings, and broadcasts, software programs, patent holders, media companies, and creators in the creator economy and Web 2 and Web 3 era. Under a franchise agreement, the franchisee is granted permission to use the franchisor's assets, such as supply chain, trademarks, or other intellectual property for a certain period of time. Typically, the franchisee is granted exclusive rights to those assets within a certain localized area. Examples of franchisees include the owner-operators of many retail stores or restaurants. In brand licensing, the licensee is permitted to use a licensor's trademarks and logos on its own manufactured products, such as sports apparel or toys. For instance, a hit superhero movie may be released that generates a large fan base. The characters in the film are the property of the movie studio, but they decide to solicit licensing agreements from various producers of consumer goods. A licensee may also be an entity that has been granted legal or regulatory permission to operate. Such a license is a mechanism for governments to oversee, and in many cases tax, certain business operators. A liquor license is an example of this type. Many types of businesses are required to obtain an operating license before being able to legally do business. An important use of licensee refers to permissions granted to access real estate. Typically, a licensee of a property has been granted express permission to make use of land by the owner. A common example used in law schools is that of a hunter who has written permission to hunt on a landowner's property. In addition to paying any fees or revenues associated with being granted a license, licensees are often subject to requirements that they treat the granted permission responsibly. A license does not grant free rein to exploit the licensed rights, whether they be to a public or private asset. A licensee is one who has been given limited permission to use or occupy a property. The licensee will pay or compensate the actual owner of the property for its use, the terms of which will be spelled out in a licensing agreement. The licensor is the owner of some property that grants permission to a licensee to use them, in return for compensation. This term implies that a business has applied for and holds a valid license, obtained from the proper authority, to legally operate or do business in a certain location or locations. A licensing agency is a broker that brings together license owners with potential licensees and arranges licensing agreements between these parties. A licensing agent may approach the owner of a license to see if they would be interested in such an arrangement. Here are 5 key takeaways. 1. A licensee is some entity that has been granted permission to conduct activities using something that another party owns or controls. 2. The licensee may pay the licensor for the permission, or share revenue arising from activities arising from the permission. 3. Licensing agreements are common in several sectors, including media, entertainment, technology, and biopharma. 4. Types of licensee arrangements include franchises, brand licenses, and government licenses. 5. An operating license grants the licensee the legal capacity to conduct business. Hope this would help. Thanks for watching.